Welcome to The Explainer. You know, some true crime stories are shocking because they feel so random, but others are terrifying because they follow a pattern. It's like a playbook of betrayal, where the killer is hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to dig into 4 stories that reveal a chillingly similar script for turning love into lethal greed.
You've heard it a million times, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. And man, there's a reason it's such a classic saying. Because behind what looks like a perfect couple, or a charming smile, or a loving marriage, can be a mask for some truly evil intentions. All right, let's get into this.
So here's the thing. Every single one of these stories starts in a place that looks pretty happy. We're talking about promising futures, military honors, even high school sweethearts. On the surface, these were the kinds of relationships you might even look up to. So first up, let's talk about Andy and Lisa Segata. Andy was this kind, really clever engineering student at the University of New Mexico. And Lisa? She was a glamorous marketing student who, as one source put it, would just laser lock on something and go for it. She literally told Andy, "I'm going to marry you," and boom, within months, they were married.
Yeah, that perfect picture, it didn't last long. It cracked, and it cracked fast. Behind closed doors, Lisa started cutting Andy off from his friends, from his family. She had this explosive temper. She once threw every single dish in their kitchen at him just because he emptied the dishwasher wrong. And get this, all while she's professing her commitment to Andy, she's secretly seeing an ex-lover, a guy named David Meade.
Okay, now let's head over to Fort Carson, Colorado, and meet Sergeant Tyrone Hassel and his wife, Kamaya. Now, Tyrone was a real rising star in the Army. Making sergeant at his age was a huge deal. It showed some exceptional leadership. He and Kamaya were seen as this military power couple, seemingly on the fast track to success.
The betrayal in this story, it was basically an open secret. While they were deployed in South Korea, Kamaya was having this really blatant affair with another soldier, Private Jeremy Keeler. They were even living in the same barracks, while Tyrone was staying somewhere else. A friend of Tyrone's actually saw them together and tried to warn him, but Tyrone was so in love, he just believed they could work it out.
All right, our third couple, Brent and Renee Poole. These two were high school sweethearts. So when Renee got pregnant, Brent did what he thought was the right thing to do. He was absolutely thrilled to be a dad and was working double shifts as a mechanic just to provide for his new family. By all accounts, he was completely all in. But that quiet family life, it just wasn't cutting it for Renee. Just weeks after their baby was born, she got a job as a stripper. And it wasn't even about the money, It was all about the attention. While Brent was out there working his tail off to support them, she was having multiple affairs, including one with a man named John Fraser, who just showered her with all that attention she was craving. And that brings us to our final story, Frank Rodriguez. People called him a saint, just a deeply good religious guy. He was getting over a recent divorce when he met the very charming, very talkative Angelina, where they both worked at a boot camp for wayward teens. He was just drawn to her outgoing personality, and only 3 months after they met, they were married. But what Frank thought was his fairy tale ending, well, it was really a horror story just getting started. He had no idea that the betrayal was already deadly. Frank thought he'd gotten lucky and narrowly escaped a gas leak in their home. But Angelina later admitted to her lover that she was the one who loosened that gas line, hoping the whole house would just explode. And she did this all while carrying on a secret affair. Okay, so we've got affairs, we've got lies, we've got all this manipulation. But what was the real reason? What's the one thing that connects all of these awful betrayals? And it wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't about jealousy. No, it was something way, way colder. Just pure, simple greed. For Lisa Segata, the price on her husband Andy's head was $180,000. And she knew about a crucial little detail in the fine print. Something called a double indemnity clause. Basically, that means the policy would pay out double if the death was ruled an accident. How convenient is that for someone planning a murder to look like a random attack? For Kamaya Hassel, the price tag was even higher, $500,000. That was the combined total of her husband's military life insurance and his death benefits, a huge sum of money she was planning to collect as his grieving widow. Renee Poole didn't just want to be free of her hardworking husband Brent. She wanted a payday. His death was her ticket to a cool $100,000 life insurance check.
And then there's Angelina Rodriguez, $250,000. Just months into their marriage, she was the one who insisted on this big new policy for Frank. He was reluctant, but she just pushed and pushed until he agreed, basically sealing his own fate. So the motive is crystal clear, right? It's cash. And with that in mind, each of these women started following this scarily similar playbook to get it. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a cold, methodical business transaction. And here it is. This is the playbook they all used, almost step for step. It's a strategy that just exploits the trust that's supposed to be at the heart of a marriage. Step 1, you get that big life insurance policy. Step 2, find someone to help you, almost always a lover you can wrap around your finger. Step 3, you dangle the promise of this amazing future together, all paid for by that insurance money. And the final crucial step, you stage the murder to look like a tragic accident or just some random attack. But, here's the thing about a so-called perfect plan. There's almost always a fatal flaw, right? Usually it's born from just pure arrogance or some simple little oversight. And in every single one of these cases, the carefully built plots came crashing down. So let's break down exactly how these perfect plans just fell apart. For Lisa Sagata, it was messy. Her lover accidentally stabbed himself during the murder. But the real nail in the coffin? A simple sales receipt. A salesperson remembered Lisa herself, paying for the murder weapon. In Kamaya Hassel's case, it was pure arrogance. Her lover, Jeremy, couldn't resist bragging about the murder to an army buddy who, thank goodness, went straight to the authorities. For Renee Poole, the lie was in the tiny details. She claimed she was forced to lie in the sand during the attack, but police noticed her clothes were perfectly clean. Oops. And Angelina, she tried to fake a tip-off call to mislead police, but phone records don't lie. That call never happened. And it was these fatal flaws, these sloppy mistakes, that led investigators right to the truth. The women who thought they had orchestrated the perfect crime pretty soon found themselves facing justice.
Now, this is really interesting. Look at how the sentences were handed down. The masterminds, Kamaya and Renee, they both got life without parole. Their accomplices, the men they manipulated, they got lesser, though still very long sentences. In fact, John Fraser's lawyer even called him a dupe. Even in the Sedata case, Lisa got a slightly longer sentence than the guy who actually held the knife.
But the most jaw-dropping verdict of all, that was for Angelina Rodriguez. During her trial for Frank's murder, prosecutors uncovered an even darker secret, something even more horrifying. Years before, she had murdered her own 13-month-old daughter, Alicia, by lodging the nipple of a pacifier in her throat, all to collect on a $50,000 insurance policy. For these crimes, she was sentenced to death. These stories they're a chilling reminder, aren't they? These men weren't just victims of murder. They were victims of a meticulously executed playbook of betrayal. It was a plan that literally weaponized their love and their trust against them. And it leaves us with this really unsettling question. When the person you trust the most is following a script for your demise, is it even possible to see the truth before it's just too late?